Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my garden. We are starting right where we left off yesterday in yesterday's garden tour. I'm standing in the exact same spot. You can see my garden shed behind me. So when I flip you around, you're going to be looking into our backyard. And we're going to continue along the path that goes to our patio. We'll look at the gardens here in the backyard, in the back lawn, and then we'll just kind of make a loop around the walk-through gardens that continue on where I'm looking. So I'll flip you around and we'll get started. Okay, so we have a little bit of a cloud cover coming in and out, so I hope you guys can see well enough. We are in zone 8B, Western Oregon, and my gardens are not watered by an irrigation system. I do have drip run through them, but I basically run the drip. So the gardens get watered maybe once a week, if that. So if you see something doing well, it's because of the plant. If it's not doing well, it's because of me. So yeah, so that's just something to kind of keep in mind as we look through the gardens. I unfortunately just can't water them every single day or every other day like they would probably want. And so keeping that in mind, I just love this garden. These beds have been starting to be established probably 17 years ago that I've been working in this space. Obviously some things are just planted, as recently as this last week. But the gardens all around me themselves have been going on for over a decade. So anyway, I will turn you around and we'll start the walkthrough in the backyard. Okay, so here is this path that leads us back to the back patio. We already looked at this side, and I apologize for the sun coming in and out behind the clouds. Hopefully that doesn't make it too difficult to see. We have a dwarf Alberta spruce here in this container. It's been in this spot for several years now, and I'm just still amazed at how well it's doing given it being in a container. Next to that is a sedum that I plopped into the ground and have it covered by a cloche so that it'll stand a chance if the dogs run by it. Behind it is a Concord barberry, which I've mentioned several times is my most favorite barberry. Those are not invasive here. They do not spread crazy like they do in other parts of the country, so I have a lot of barberries throughout my gardens. This is a Pugster Blue butterfly bush, which butterfly bushes are invasive here, but these ones are sterile, so they don't spread. We're able to grow them just fine here, and I love them because they don't need a lot of water, and they still just perform beautifully. Same with sedum. You've seen these all throughout my garden. This one is an autumn joy next to a sweet little purple one that I really should propagate because it's so pretty. Along the front are a few Spanish lavender. These bloom really well for me in the spring. They don't look that great at this time of the year, but they're just kind of a little foliage accent. These ones actually bloom pink, which is kind of unique. It's not one that I have throughout the rest of the garden, so I really like those edging this pathway. We have some candy tuft, some grass, a couple little grasses that are struggling, that are trying to do their thing. Little bit of creeping thyme, and then this row of green velvet boxwoods that are formed into these little balls. So I've always had this rock here separating out to walk out. This spot is where I had one, but the dogs take this route and they busted it. It's currently rehabbing in a container over by my garden shed, which is fine. They like to run through here. And so I just thought I would not fight them and let them do that. So on this side of the bed, you can see this large stand of the Sedum Autumn Joy. Next to it is a spirea. These are planted way too close together. They really would like to be quite a bit separated. There's some more Nepeta or catmint. This is a hydrangea that's actually not even planted in the ground yet. It's called a game changer pickety, and its blooms are so pretty. And this is just so interesting to me that this one is blooming with a pink tinge to it, and this one is like clearly purple. So I don't know, I'm excited to see what this one does. Kind of similar to the Bridal Trail, I think that's Bridal Trail hydrangea. I love the foliage on this one. I just think it's so pretty. I love the structure of it, how it has some different coloration to it. is super pretty. So I'm excited to get that one in the ground. I just have to remind myself that it's not planted yet. It's been doing so well just in its container there that I haven't planted it, but it does have some hosta underneath it and another nepeta right there, and another little hosta, another little stand of sedum autumn joy that you can see right there. So in this bed right here at the end, there's another burning bush. It's a compact variety, just like the one that we looked at in the previous garden tour, that is right across the lawn, right over there. Oh, and in case you didn't notice, we don't irrigate our lawn. The lawn is brown. We don't have irrigation for the lawn. So lucky my gardens get the water that they do. So anyhow, here's some betony. This is a summer crush variety. It's a light pink. There's a couple of those throughout this bed. There's also a couple more barberries. These ones I'd really like to replace with the Concord barberry. So I'm going to see if I can find those next year to replace these ones. So along this bed also you can see that there are a repeat of the Boxwood balls. There's also a repeat of this kind of different kind of nepeta. It's not the typical ones that I grow. It's much more splaying, and it has a really neat soft texture to the leaves. So there's a few of those along the edge of this bed as well. There are also 3 bobo hydrangeas, which I don't know why they didn't bloom. I don't know what they're doing. They should bloom on new wood, so it shouldn't have affected them that I pruned them. So yeah, this is their second year in the ground, so we'll see what they do next year. This is a flip side. This is another flip side vitex like I have in the front yard. Clearly, if you compare this to the one in the front yard, you can see this is supposed to get much bigger. This is also its second season in the ground, so I anticipate that it will grow considerably. So here's another one of the betony. You can see the pink flowers. These ones are really short compared to what what the first batch of blooms were. They get quite a bit taller than that. We just planted in this summer allium here. There's a lavender that needs to be cut back, and I may cut it back all the way to this new growth here. We'll see. I figure if it's pushing out new growth there, then I might as well try to do that. And if it doesn't work, I can just replace it with another one. It's been here for quite a while. It's one of the original things in this bed. Echinacea. This is another one of the bobos. It's a betony right down here. This is a vitex that I just brought out here in the container because this spot didn't fill in as much as I anticipated it to. So that just kind of fills in that spot next to a spirea that's already taking on its fall color. You can see that really pretty pink. This is why I don't know why these aren't utilized more in gardens, because they're so pretty all throughout the seasons, ending with their beautiful color in the fall. This is one of the lemon cypress. If you watched the video in the front, one of the front gardens by our front steps, I told you that I replaced some lemon cypress in those containers because the tops died out. This was one of them, so I cut off the top and I'm just letting it be a shrub, I guess. It's just in a nursery can right there. Can't really see the nursery can from most angles, so I don't mind that. But yeah, it fills in the spot pretty nicely, and I don't mind it there. I don't know if it'll stay there, but we'll see. So in the front here, we have some just really low growing mounding sedums that I protect when they first come out of the ground because they just look like little balls, and I don't want the dogs to run over them. And those have just grown in really well. I'm excited to see those bloom. It's another one of the boxwoods that's just sheared into a ball. You were with me when we planted up this container the other day. This is one of the new proven winners varieties of Scaevola. It is a fan flower, but this one is called Star Diva because the flowers are actually in the shape of a star rather than a fan. So there's about 4, I planted 3 or 4 in that container underneath a vitex. That doesn't really have many blooms on it. These are already kind of spent, but again, it's another one with just really pretty foliage. The can see that the little branches that the foliage is on are even having a shade of purple to them. So I love that. I love that. I love that when a plant is not reliant just on flowers. It makes for such more seasonal interest. And I see this poor little this poor little coleus that we just planted got broken off, I'm sure by the dogs running through here, which was the whole point of putting this here, that it was supposed to help them to not want to do that. But this sweet little shrub that I planted in this spring, it's getting its berries. This is a beauty berry, I believe, a coral berry, to put it up on the screen, but it's just done really well. It hasn't put on too much growth, but it's just sat here and since I planted it, and I like the variation of the green that I get from this plant over to the more vibrant green of the boxwood. I think those look really pretty together. I'm excited to watch that one fill in that space. And this is just, another one of the sedums. There's a couple more down there. They just sort of dot themselves down this bed. And then another autumn joy. There's another betony there. And there's lots of spireas that have seeded themselves along the back side of this bed that I just kind of keep cutting down, letting them do their thing, but not wanting them to continue to go to seed. This is a crimson pygmy barberry that's just stayed really nice and small in this spot. This was the coleus that I just showed you that the dogs broke. I don't anticipate it to get as big as it obviously would if it was been in the ground all season, but it's called like a mini-me chartreuse, I think, and it is a new variety. Super cute foliage, but I did learn at the event at Bauman Farms where Janie and Brian were talking about it that it does not stay mini. The ones that Brian had been growing were absolutely huge. But I just wanted something chartreuse in this spot, and I thought that was a really, really pretty option. This right here is a really unique spirea. It is underneath our bird feeders, so the birds kind of decorate it, but it is another one of the double play varieties, and you can just see how unique this foliage is. I wouldn't want a ton of these in the garden just because they're not as restful to the eye, but they're so interesting, and I like having this one underneath the bird feeder because when the birds do their business on it, it doesn't really stand out because there's already variety in the leaf color. So I just think that one is super pretty. It's obviously been cut back. It blooms a little bit more upright and loosely than the others. I just really appreciate that one in the garden. So there's another boxwood ball. A lot of continuation with this type of container. This is just a terracotta pot. Have a lot of terracotta in my garden, specifically this shape, especially for my bigger containers. And again, that just adds continuity, I think, throughout the garden. This is a little solar light, which is pretty fun, a little solar lantern. I got it from Tractor Supply, and I really like the flickering light that it gives out here in the garden at night. There's just a little grouping of plants in terracotta pots, and kind of fun underneath this madrone that seeded itself here. These are really hard to grow from seed on your own. They're also really hard to transplant or to get to take if you plant them on your own. So the fact that we have one growing right here, I'm like all for it. It's totally fine. I've been limbing it up over the years, and I just really hope that it continues to do well in this spot. So this is a bird's nest spruce. Not sure the variety of this grass, but obviously it would like a lot more water than I give it. This is another one of the sedums that I have over there in the front of that bed. They are just the cutest things when they first emerge in the spring. This is a beautiful heuchera. I love that kind of silvery purple color. And then this is a dwarf hemlock, which I love hemlock needles. I think they're so pretty. So while we are back here, let's just take a quick look at these containers. These have Franklin gem boxwood in the center that are, that are sheared into balls. And they they have Franklin Gem Boxwoods in the middle, and then they're surrounded by the pink cashmere Superbena. And I really do like the Superbena, but I think I really prefer it in the ground versus around these boxwoods. I'm not sure what I'll do next year, though I am kind of just thinking about maybe doing the Mini Vista Whites, because I just think that they've done so incredibly well. I did also have Bidens, or I do still have Bidens in the corners, but they weren't doing great for me. I've seen them do great for others, but they weren't doing great for me. I don't fertilize these. I mean, maybe they've gotten once, maybe twice. And of course, I know that to get ideal blooms out of all these annuals, that would be preferred. But I don't, for whatever reason, laziness, I guess, probably, and they still do well. I mean, I'm happy with how they do. So yeah, so these are pretty. This is probably my favorite color in the garden, is just a blush pink. I love it, which is why I was really hopeful that I would love these in this container, but I just definitely, and this may be because I don't fertilize them, so I do understand that, but I just get a lot more foliage than I do blooms. So again, I'm not blaming the plant at all. I know that's on me, but anyway, we'll see. We'll see what I decide to do next year. Some blueberry plants, which are amazing. So there's 4 of those containers around our patio. You can see those there. Usually these little boxwood topiaries are on our back patio table, but I moved them off of there so that we could eat. Okay, so let's come over here now. Here we have a PJM rhododendron along the front. So we are back again at our back patio, and this is the view that I see when I drive in. There's a Daphne right here that blooms, late winter. It smells wonderful. Some Haconocloa that's kind of showing off in the wind, just nestled in there with some pulmonaria and some heuchera. And then this beautiful, I love this hydrangea. Again, similar to the pink cashmere, I just love this soft pink. I love it. And the foliage on this too is so pretty. It is in a container. I think I need to just plant it into the ground. I think it would be a lot happier if I did that, but the foliage is kind of this soft green. It's a little bit variegated, has some white edging to it, but I love that hydrangea, so I need to get it in the ground for its optimum performance. There's another barberry that is extremely happy in that space. And now we'll just kind of walk up these steps here. There's more lady's mantle and hardy geraniums that have been cut back, some violas that were cut back, the annual or the perennial violas that have been cut back, a veronica, another boxwood ball, another green velvet. This is a coreopsis that I deadheaded, and a daylily that got cut back. This one's not pushing any new growth, so I guess there's maybe one. Maybe it's starting to, but I was kind of thinking that maybe this one actually bit the dust after I pruned it, so we'll see. This is a really large, beautiful spirea. It has been cut back, but there's a bloom right in there, and the bees found it. Right, and you can see that right in there. So that's what this whole shrub is covered with midsummer. It's just really beautiful. So this area really, this is not this area's time to shine, but I don't mind that. I mean, not every area can shine all the time. So this is much more early spring, like when this quince is blooming here, when the hardy geraniums are just filling in this entire space. It's really lovely. But we do have some things. There's a bunch of asters. These are the same type that are in the front. So those are very pretty, and I'm thankful for those in this space. But right now it's just a lot of foliage, and that's okay. Gives your eye, again, just kind of a rest as it's looking back here. It's another smaller spirea. There's some daisies that I need to cut back. Another variegated Weigela that has a very, very soft pink bloom to it, which I just love. It's one of my most favorite shrubs in my garden. This maple tree planted itself here, and I think we're going to be taking it out pretty soon. So that will definitely change the look in this space. This area is just really kind of overgrown. There's a beautyberry right there that'll have the purple berries on it. And a hosta that's pretty happy in this little container. An azalea that's not very happy. This is a pink azalea that I just planted in this year. Ugh. Sometimes, you know, but the new growth is still green, so it'll be fine, but it's just kind of crying right now for the treatment it's received. Here's the other variegated honeysuckle. I have one in the front, one of the front garden beds I was showing the other day. This one receives also just like no care at all, and it's basically wild. These do grow wild here, so it's comfortable in this atmosphere, which is good because this area right back here is really kind of a mess. Obviously, I don't look back here very often. Over here underneath this Japanese maple that has absolutely, I feel like it's doubled in size this year. It's just crazy. It'll get beautiful fall color. It comes out with gorgeous, gorgeous color in the spring. It's an unnamed variety because I got it at an agricultural festival several years ago. It was just a little ball of a tree for a while, and then it just really found its stride, and it's gorgeous. I'll show you from the other side. You'll be able to see it better, but this little shaded area under here is just kind of full of heuchera. Underneath this viburnum that's already started to lose its leaves. It might have shocked a little bit, but here's some nepeta, another heuchera and sedum. So yeah, this is definitely not this garden bed's time to shine. I mean, in June it is just gorgeous, but right now it's, you know, it's okay. It's okay, but not its peak time in the garden for sure. But there's just some low growing sedums in here. There's a couple hellebores that'll be beautiful come late winter. It's a lamb's ear. A little hole from something. That's what that's from. Some more of the creeping sedum. A daylily that's blooming again. This is interesting because I used to have a lot of black-eyed Susans in this spot, but they never did well. They always they wouldn't bloom. Their leaves would just always be very wilty. And then there's this one that is gorgeous. So it's pretty out of place, you know, just right on the front of the bed, but oh well, it looks lovely, and I'm happy for it that it's so happy there. So anyway, another boxwood ball, some heather. There is a little rhododendron that I planted in this spring, and it's pretty happy. A peony that I got about 2 blooms off of this spring, but that's okay. Its foliage is happy, so that's all right. So here's another spirea that just again shows you why I plant so many of these. This is all of its new growth. After I deadheaded the spent blooms right there, you can see the new growth that it puts on is this beautiful pinkish color, and it just gives such a lovely effect to this garden. Underplanted with more nepeta. Again, you know, just some repeats because these are things that I have that go to seed that I can divide. Hardy geranium, you know, lots of repeating things in these gardens. Another barberry and some wild strawberries that are growing underneath there. So here is another fir tree that is planted itself here. I need to shear it. I think we're going to put lights on this one also, like the one over by the no-till bed for Christmas time. I think that would be pretty sweet, but it'll eventually have to come out as well. This here is a Seven Suns tree, and I'm just wondering when it's going to start to bloom. It has buds all over it. It's supposed to be a late summer bloomer, so I don't think it's past time for it to be blooming, but we'll see. It has gorgeous peeling bark on it, and it will bloom white, but then once the blooms are done and they drop the blooms, the the calyxes, I guess, that hold the blooms, they are bright pink. So it's just a tree that gives so much interest, and I'm so happy that it is done as well as it has done in my garden space here, because I used to have a redbud here that was not happy, and now this guy is really doing well. So I swing around here, and now we are along the dry creek bed. This is a big stand of daisies that I put a container in the middle of with this stellar magnolia, I believe is what it's called. There are some of the leaves that are kind of crinkled, but overall it's done really well, especially because I forgot to put it actually on to the drip line. So it's it's doing really well considering. Here we have another barberry, which is just a gorgeous color. I don't know why this one is so much more vibrant than any of the other ones. This is also a rose glow, but the other ones aren't this pretty of a color. So that's doing well. The next two, just a dogwood shrub right there. It's also in a container. Just kind of one of those beds of like, don't look too close. I'll pan back a little bit. No, I'm kidding. This is why I call my gardens rustic gardens, because there's so much imperfection, but it just hopefully still shows my love of just planting and combinations and all the things. So there's more of the wild strawberries just kind of going throughout the phlox. There's a little Bordeaux that I kind of rescued. It wasn't doing well, and I just planted it there, and it's pushed all that as new growth. So, that's okay. It's doing all right. There's another spirea. See, it's new growth on there with the sedum and a little butterfly bush, and then there's the shades of rose coreopsis that we just planted the other day. There's a phlox and a tall grass around the bird bath. This lavender is also done, but like I was showing in the front garden with the grosso that's up there, this part still looks purplish. So I don't cut it back. I think it still looks pretty with it as it is right there. So coming around this side, we have another spirea on this side of the garden, and on this side, those are both gold flame spirea. Coming around, there's more nepeta. This is more candy tuft. This is a spurge that is really spindly now. In the spring, it was quite dense, so I'm not really sure what happened there. More spireas dotted through. Here's some black-eyed Susans that are also doing well. I think they get a lot of the runoff from the bird bath. I need to really clean that. It's gotten pretty murky. So it gets some of the water from that. So that's nice for it. And this is just the backside of this garden. Here's our rock wall up to kind of no man's land back there. And this I don't think I talked about, this little tree in my last video, but it's a Styrax japonica. It's a Japanese snowbell, and it's a darker variety. The leaves come out actually kind of a purplish color, and then it has the sweetest little white bell-shaped flowers on it in the spring. And it bloomed really well for me this year. It didn't bloom at all the first year that I had it in the ground. This one I got for a discount, because you can see that the original leader broke out. Otherwise, these are pretty costly trees because they are so slow growing and kind of hard to find. But I got it at a good price, and it's just kind of established its own new leader. So anyway, it didn't bloom the first year, but it did bloom beautifully this year, and that was so pretty to see. So yeah, this time of the year, it's just kind of nice, unique colored foliage over there. So this is our walk-through garden bed. As you can see, it's just a few different, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different little garden beds back here that are all primarily really drought tolerant, really tolerant of deer also, because the deer can just kind of come right down from wherever they want to, and they can feast if they wanted to until the dogs scare them away. So we have some more lavender. This is a really pretty pink daylily that, even though I'm not a huge fan of daylilies, these ones I will keep because I just love the color of those. This is a jasmine that just kind of stays a little bush. I don't know, it's supposed to climb, but it doesn't really. It does bloom, and it smells wonderful. So here is some penstemon. Look at this color. Isn't that pretty? That's a very, very pretty color. And then some agastaki. This is a rosy pink variety, and then this more purple variety. It's quite a bit larger with the Caryopteris in between there. Another spirea. This one also came by seed. It planted itself into a planter that I had, and I transferred it out, and now it's this gorgeous, gorgeous shrub back here. This is El Nino Catalpa. I planted this earlier this year. It had like one bloom on it. I think it's just kind of sitting, getting itself established. I'm a little nervous about this one because I've heard that they actually get quite a bit larger than the tag originally said. Supposed to said it was like 3 to 5 feet tall and wide, and I thought that would kind of fill in this spot nicely, but evidently they get a lot larger. Perhaps, I don't know, if you give them the right conditions, but this might not be the perfect conditions for it, so maybe it'll stay a little smaller. I don't know. At any rate, I was going to tree form it anyway, so we'll see. We'll watch that one and see what it does. So here is a platinum blonde lavender. I just love the variegation in this one. It just is really kind of has a little bit of a yellowy tint to it as it's coming on. It's not as obvious later in the season right now as it is when it's first pushing its growth. But there's another penstemon. Here's a quince that has an apricot flower, double apricot flower in the spring, and another one of those daylilies that was down there on the end. Here's the 2 yarrow that we planted in right there. There is a penstemon right there. I think it's the like Midnight Masquerade penstemon right there that I just had cut all the way back. This sweet gardenia is trying for the life of it to survive, and I think it's gonna do it. I think it can. I just hooked drip up to it because that and the barberry didn't have drip emitters going to it. So I think now that they have that, those will be a lot happier. This area underneath this crabapple shows what the deer do. They can come in here and they're just kind of pruning down these sedum, which were all just little starts that I dug out of other areas of the garden. Maybe one of them was actually a division. I might have just dug out that entire one and divided it into a bunch of little starts. But see, this one, they pulled it all the way out of the ground. And I just plunked it back in there, and it still has some new growth on it. But anyway, my vision was that this whole area underneath the crabapple would be some nepeta and some sedum. They were just, free plants, obviously. Got them from around the garden. But the deer have kind of squelched that plan. But right up here, you can see this. This is the drops of, oh, a little lizard. This is the drops of Jupiter oregano, and look how pretty those blooms are. You see that color? And surprisingly, the deer have not eaten on these arborvitaes that's up here, which is surprising to me because I hear that they love arborvitaes, so they have not bothered those yet. So here's this look kind of from up here as we come down these stairs. This is just the other side of this bed with a few repeating boxwood. These ones are actually more of the Franklin's Gem, same ones that I have in the containers on the back patio. Another spirea and some nepeta that I'm hoping will make just a little hedge right here. These two I just planted in earlier this spring, so hopefully once they get a good winter under them, they'll come back with vengeance. Some purple sage, another platinum blonde lavender, which I'm not sure why it's taking on such a mohawk look. I don't know if the wind was pushing it, but it's kind of funny. So anyway, this is the Bayakova hardy geranium that if you watched the very first garden tour that I did, I showed you some little starts that I dug out from here. You just can see kind of like even just like this little chunk, I just would dig out a chunk like that and planted it up in that front bed, and they're taking really well. So those will be beautiful pink blooming plants there this spring. Okay, so swinging around this way, we'll run through this bed pretty quick. Here's another Green Mountain Boxwood that I'm trying to train into a cone. I have another one just on the outside of my garden shed, and this one's doing pretty well. It's put on quite a bit of new growth from where I sheared it last in the spring when I got it. These are Glow Girl Spirea. These are birch spirea, so they have a little bit of a different shape of their leaves and a little different color. These bloom on old wood though, so we'll see how they bloom. I can't prune these back the same as I prune my other spirea, so I have to remember that so I don't cut off all the blooms. There's a Play in the Blue salvia back there. It's doing beautifully, even though it doesn't get a ton of sun, it's still doing really well. We have a row of heuchera along the edge. This is one that I don't love. I don't really love when it's like this greenish color on the top and a different, I don't know. I don't love this one. It was planted over here, and I dug it out and transplanted it over here just to kind of have something along this edge. So we'll see. They may stay, they may go. Another Nepeta. So many repeat plants. There's spirea, like I said. This is again the gold flame. It has really, this one's really happy. There's really pretty new growth on that. And a stand of daisies in front of that. We have a little lime standard in a container. This is the best it's ever bloomed since the year that I got it, which was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. So that's exciting to see. This is another one of the same type of Rose of Sharon that I have in the front garden bed. This one is doing a little better than the other. Again, it's its first year in the garden too, so I'm just excited to be seeing how many blooms it does have on it. I think that they're so sweet. This one's really pretty. You can see even on the back side of them, they're beautiful. So yeah, that's exciting to see how well those are doing. This is Awakening. This is another climbing rose. This is a new sport, I believe. I think the website said of dawn. Which, look at that, isn't that interesting? The darker pink splotches. I wonder why it's doing that. But anyway, the foliage looks good, and it's a continuous bloomer, so there's still more buds coming up on that one. There's a silver foliage Spanish lavender. There's another type of salvia, which was really interesting. I really liked this one for the purple down here, and then they come out to the white flower. I just thought those were really pretty. I have that one there, and then another one on this side. These are sprinter boxwoods here in the front. Another Mystic Spires, which just doesn't that look so pretty together? That with the Black-Eyed Susan, and then the Bordeaux behind it. I think that's such a pretty combination. I could just do these all over in the garden. Look at that foliage. It's so beautiful. I'm a foliage gal, I'm realizing. So if we swing this way, this bed is flanked by the sprinter boxwoods that have had spider mites in the past, so that's too bad. But look at all of the pollinators on the summer allium. They love these. And next to that was a stand of daisies that already got cut back. Behind there is another butterfly bush that's kind of in between flushes. And you can see as we go down this bed that there's a couple more chunks of sedum. Another summer allium. There's a couple more boxwood throughout this bed, just kind of dotted along through there. A couple other varieties of sedum. Here we have the ones that have the pretty pink stems. I just I just love them. I just love them. And they come out with the pink flowers on the top. So those are a great substitute for when the spirea are done, because the spirea actually blooms very similarly to those. So that those look really nice next to each other. This is a viburnum standard that's already taking on its fall color, interestingly. We have some Gara throughout the bed, next to a California lilac that's kind of spindly at this point. It's its first year in the ground. It lost some of its foliage, but it's still doing okay. There next to a barberry that's just quite a vibrant red with some yarrow in front of that, and another little golden spirea. This right here is a blue kazoo spirea. It is a Proven Winners variety, and it has that beautiful kind of maroon color coming in for the fall, but it does bloom a really pretty white flower in the springtime. So it's a nice variety to have in the garden as well. You just see some repeats of the echinacea, some more of the Spanish lavender down here in front. This is a Monet Weigela. It is one that likes a little bit more shade than the typical Weigela, so that's why it's planted here. It'll just get a little bit larger than this, but I like the variegation in the leaves, and it's just a really nice soft pink that it will get. This is a cypress. I believe it's called Soft Serve Gold Cypress. It's a slow grower, but it's doing well there. You can definitely see on the side that gets the more sun that it is more of the golden color than it is on the back side that doesn't get as much sun. Right under here, under this cloche, we have a little sedum that's trying to take root, and a kiwi down here on the bottom that I thought was dead after the winter, but it put all that new growth on. Again, kind of just lining the bed. There's the Spanish lavender. That's just a repeat along here. Some irises that bloomed beautifully in the spring, late spring. It's more hardy geranium that I just kind of bring in by the little starts, just to fill in the edges here. They would probably all like a lot more water. So this is what I was talking about when I say a broken chunk of the sedum. I will just take this piece. I will take off the bottom leaves. So I'll just take off the leaves up to this point, and then probably break it right about here where it's, straighter, and just stick this part, just do it like that, stick this part down into the soil. So I'll just dig a hole right here and stick this down in there, and it'll start a new plant. And that's how I have started quite a few of my sedum plants that you see throughout these garden tours. So anyway, it's a bummer when they break, but at least it becomes a new plant. So this is a lilac here, another boxwood here, and some more Gara just kind of popping up throughout the middle of the beds. Some Coreopsis, similar to the one that I just showed you that I planted. This is shades of rose, and a Caryopteris that'll start blooming very soon, the gold variety, and some more of the hardy geraniums. These are Carina, I believe is what these ones are called. I have the Biocova over there. These might also have some Biocova in them, but these are a different color for the most part. So here's the Sunshine Ligustrum that we planted in recently, and it's doing really well next to another. This is a smaller variety. It's not Crimson Pygmy, it's just a smaller variety of Crimson Pygmy. In front of this mum that's already blooming, which is exciting. And more sedum and ground cover. We have a clematis growing up this, as well as a jasmine that I totally thought, based on most of its stems up top, that it was dead, but it pushed out all sorts of new growth down here on the bottom. So go figure. I mean, Plants are just amazing like that. I think that they're dead, and then they're like, nope, I'm not. So turning around over here, up in these rocks, we have just some ground cover that I've been trying to grow for a while. And fall would probably be a good time for me to plant it so that it gets watered in well. But yeah, so here, this bed doesn't get a ton of attention. And again, it's kind of in the back corner. So we have 3 barberries. I had other things planted in here, but the deer just would like to come in and eat them. So the barberries are always a good bet for that. Here is a Leyland cypress. That's an interesting shape. That's just in this container here with a lemon cypress right in front of it. This is a double blooming pink rhododendron, and it was so beautiful this year. It did extremely well. Some sweet woodruff behind, just a little heuchera right there. Some phlox, kind of just a lot of green right here in this garden right now. This is some pretty severe spider mite damage on this boxwood, unfortunately. But here's 2 more of the spireas that I was talking about that are under the bird feeder, and I just love that foliage. Some wire vine underneath that's trying to grow. Some scabiosa in the front that's already been cut back. This bed, I need to water this bed more. This soil is not a very good environment for these guys, so kudos to these plants for doing as well as they are. So it's a beautiful sedum. Obviously, sedum just can grow wherever, which is why I have so much of it. The barberries have filled out really nicely in this space. Some more creeping phlox, and ending with the boxwood and another of the Spanish lavender on the end. Seems like these little ground covers in here are doing pretty well. There's some moss and some just creeping thyme and some more of this small wire vine. There's a little juniper, creeping juniper there. So these guys are doing okay. There's a little bit more difficult down the way, but that's okay. That's okay. And this view right here is one that I love. I sit in this chair and just taking in this view really brings me a lot of joy, just towards my little garden shed and out looking at this garden here. I really enjoy it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me for this video and for these garden tours. I hope you enjoyed this look through my garden beds. It's humbling to look very closely at the beds. Each one of them, I know I could say, oh, this needs help, this needs help. But of course, I mean, that's gardening, right? I mean, nothing is ever going to be perfect, and that's part of the fun of the process. So anyway, it has been a glorious season, actually. It has been pretty mild. Things have bloomed for a lot longer than they typically do. Our temperatures have been pretty delightful, pretty nice to be out in the garden. So I can't complain at all as this garden season is starting to wind down. So anyway, we'll possibly get another garden tour in a couple months towards the end of fall, and we'll show you how things look at that point. And yeah, I'm just grateful for you. I'm grateful that you spent this time with me, and hope you enjoyed these walks through my garden beds. So thanks for watching, and we'll hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.